official forums under stats, effects, and you. On Reddit with the name Guide Vanny Pets and You, or how to become a lore buff on the official Bethsoft forums. So, Deltia, you have anything to say about any of that?
Well, the adventure handbook, I mean, I totally agree with you about basically debuffs and buff are terribly displayed in this game. Even FTC doesn't do a perfect job on it. That's something that built-in UI really should be able to do. They do a lot of animation, which for MMOers that never watch their character, they just watch, you know, buffs and numbers and blah blah blah. It's hard to get used to that. One to cleanse, one to burst, one your procs are up, etc. So that was one thing I came in the game like, where's all my buffs and debuffs? But yeah, other than that, the lore stuff's kind of cool.
Or am I here? Guess wrong.
Right, and I think a lot of the animations were done with the preference or with the foreknowledge of people being in first person, because you don't have that full field of view. You need something on your UI to tell you when you're standing in fire. So, I definitely think it's neat, but I don't know if I would go all out saying that. It definitely does need a little bit more work, and I really do feel like they need to open the API a little bit more to allow us to get a little bit more detail about buffs that we have. And I would love to see buffs on teammates. At the least, I don't care about seeing debuffs and stuff on enemies, or buffs on enemies. Actually, I'd prefer to see debuffs on enemies because I put them there. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't. They can keep their buffs to themselves, but I really want to be able to see everything that's on my teammates and stuff. So I think that would definitely help. Okay, well, that ends our game news for this week. It was kind of light on the news. Most of it was the community programs, which are always definitely fun to look through, I think. But this week for our Elder Scrolls discussion, we are going to talk patch 1.3.3, update 3 that came out. First off, in this update, the overview, of course, big things that came, die system, which is awesome. Guild features, including guild heraldry, guild traders, and improved guild management. And, of course, the changes to Cyrodiil campaigns. So, first off, Deltia, give us an overview of what you thought about Update 3, how it was released, you know, overall reception, that kind of fun stuff.
Alright, we'll start with the good, then we'll go bad and the ugly. Good. The die system absolutely rocks. I mean, the game is colorful, and each character looks unique and different. I loved it. I mean, it really makes achievements worth getting. I mean, even at max level, if you're dinking around, have nothing to do, it just gives you something else to do and unlock. So I really liked it. I didn't realize how just basically you can customize every little part with different colors, and it's unique and different. I mean, it's really pretty impressive, actually. So I really enjoyed that. So the bad, I would say some animations got broke. The weapon swapping's not perfect. Trials gear can be sold, so it's bind on equip. It's not. So basically, everyone's hawking Trials gear. Which is unfortunate because now you don't really have to do the content to get the best gear in the game. I don't know why it hasn't been hot fixed or whatever, but I think that's terrible. The ugly is the guild system was broken at launch, and so guild banks weren't around for 3 or 4 days. So that was kind of bad. And then we'll talk about PvP servers. I think that was a much needed change, especially with the separating the vets and the non-vets and their own separate PvP areas. The problem is that during peak times, everyone tries to go on the 30-day server. So on peak times, if that's your home or guest or whatever, it's nearly impossible to get in there, or you're waiting for an hour. So while there is less to choose from and they're more active, you can't get in to play with your friends. Like for instance, you guys, Tales of Tamriel was hosting a guild event, and I got 3 or 4 friends to go, and we were going to go gank you guys, not tell you, and then live stream it, and then make fun of you today. But I couldn't. Why? Couldn't get in the server. So that's a little disappointing too. But overall, Much customizations. This game does a good job with guild tabbers and making it feel like guilds matter. Most games don't. You have a tag over your head, that's it. This is, wow, really, I'm in this guild and it matters. I got my guild post trading store here, I got my tabard. We're completing trials, X, Y, and Z, so it's done a good job at separating guilds. Now that there's a visual distinction, because there isn't over your name, which I think there should be. So I think it's good overall. Just like anything, they broke a couple things. They'll get that sorted out. As far as content goes, they need something meaty coming up. They need something else. They need another system, another trial, another veteran rake dungeon, another PvP instance, something. Because it's lacking a little bit at endgame. If you're not into trials or doing the PvP stuff and you're done leveling, well, you might go level on alt, or you might quit the game. So I think they need something to come out here pretty soon that's meaty.
Absolutely, and I was going to follow pretty much echo all of that. This patch, while I think it was a fantastic, this was what you would deem a quality of life patch. Everything that was done here is all side stuff, which is good because the die system is amazing. I love it. I made a comment when I first saw it that it looked just like the Guild Wars 2 die system, and that was not a negative. Normally when you're like, oh, it's a carbon copy of another game, that's most time that has a negative connotation. But for me, it didn't, because Guild Wars 2's die system, which as you can tell now, is amazing, right? It just, the ability to do all, like, the primary, secondary, and then the smaller portions of your armor all in 3 different colors. It's really, really in depth. You can get pretty customized with what you have. But again, armor dies, while they're fun to collect. I really do like them. They provide a little off something. They're not enough to really hold on to anything. Now, followed up, the guild improvements were needed by people who like to have a lot of customization in their guild, a lot of organization in their guilds, so that was definitely welcome. But again, that's a quality of life patch more than anything, excuse me. Guild heraldry, definitely cool. And actually, one thing that I thought was really neat, and I don't know if you noticed this, Deltia, but whenever you when you buy a guild trader, that guild trader is wearing your tabard.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
I haven't bought a guild trader, but yeah.
And when I walked up to one and I looked at it, I'm like, wait a minute, this guy, the name of the guild was the Lion's Guard, and it had a big blue tabard with a lion. I'm like, it's wearing its heraldry. And I looked over at these other ones. Whenever you get a guild trader, that trader wears your tabard, which is pretty neat. I like it a lot. Something else interesting is the guild traders themselves. I need a confirmation for this, but from what I'm hearing is when you bid on one of these, if you lose the bid, you lose the money. Have you heard that, Delta?
I have not. I don't know. I couldn't confirm or deny that. I played the 5th.
Okay, plead the 5th. I got you. From what I've been hearing is, and what I've even noticed is, when you place a bid, if you bid and you lose, you don't get that money refunded. Other games, like I've seen, where if you bid on something, the money disappears from your in-game wallet. But if you lose the bid, it gets sent back to you, maybe minus the listing fee. But this one, I think you lose all of it. Oh, and Arcaneer does say yes, you can confirm that you do lose all of it. So, I mean, when you're bidding on these things, it's an investment, because you will lose that money if you didn't bid enough. So bidding like 1,000 and hoping no one else bids, you've lost that gold. So that's kind of interesting. Definitely a little strange. Next up, the guild bank gold. Other games have had a type of Dark Age Camelot, for one, had what you could call a guild tax, that whenever you killed a monster, it generated X amount % of gold and was deposited into the guild bank. That doesn't have that yet, but apparently you can make gold off of all the commissions. So whenever the auction house cut is taken, it goes into the guild bank, which is kind of neat. But that's pretty much going to fund whichever guilds win the guild trader spots. Every time they sell, they're going to keep making extra money to continue getting their bids higher and higher. So they'll eventually be able to always hold it. The Alliance campaign changes. I kind of want to stop here and Deltia, let's talk about this one for a little bit. I definitely think they were needed from the 90 days, but I was a little surprised because I think the main campaign that I put as my home at encouragement from Kipster was Bow of Shadows, because I guess we own all of it and it gave us all the buffs. And I guesting on Thornblade, the 30-day campaign. It's kind of strange that the biggest day campaign is the one that's always full. Like, because the other ones were empty. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I would have thought the 5 days ones would be packed. You know, the small ones, and this one would be a ghost town, but it's actually kind of the opposite. Did you notice that?
Yeah, the 30-day campaign is what everyone wants to be in.
I wonder why that would be, though. Because no one wanted to be in the 90-day one, so I would have thought the shorter day campaigns people would be jumping over, but it looks like those are ghost towns.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems, the funny thing is, it seems like each alliance has their own campaign that they dominate, and then everyone parks their character there at home to get the buffs, and then like the other factions like respect it and don't go clear it out, and so everyone has the buffs, and then everyone just fights on the one. That's so it's terrible.
It is a little strange.
Like the other factions won't go clear it out. So my guy right now, let me check, is Hatteras. That's basically all controlled, so I get all the buffs, and then Ebonheart guys have theirs, and then DC have theirs, and then like none of us Aldemary guys will go into yours and destroy it. Just like, I guess the people, the PvP community is like, yeah, we'll give each other buffs. Crazy.
That's pretty funny, actually. Because Bow of Shadows is definitely the Ebonheart packed one. So I'm assuming Hatteras is AD, and I would assume Chillrend is DC, because the only other one, Blackwater Blade, is a non-veteran rank one.
Yep.
Interesting. But yeah, Thornblade is completely full, and I really didn't think that was actually going to happen, because people were avoiding the long campaigns in the original iteration like the plague, and now the longer campaign's the only one people go on to.
That's bizarre, because if I have a week off from work, I try to get Emperor on a week campaign. That's what I would try to do, because you can't get Emperor another way, because you have to play so much. So I would think that a casual player, if they had some time off, it would be more advantageous to play on a shorter one. But I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't heard why people are doing that. I don't know. There has to be an advantage, otherwise people wouldn't do it.
It definitely is really weird. But yeah. Next up, which is definitely something that essentially one of the big complaints that I had with the game, playing from an MMO perspective, is the limited hotbar problem. Being only having 5 abilities, not including an ultimate, it really did kind of limit down. But now with instant weapon swap, it essentially opened up my bar to 10. Like before, the weapon swap delay made it kind of unreliable to swap in the heat of moment, but now that it's instant with the pre-caching, it definitely feels like my entire repertoire of skills has went from 5 to 10, and I think that's definitely an awesome change. Do you agree, Deltia, or do you have something else against instant weapon swap?
No, I definitely agree. I think the game, I hated the limited hotbars. Hated it at first, coming from a basic traditionalist MMOer. Now that I play and stuff, it's so cool, because every build is different, and you have to, like, this is one slot. It's going to take up 25% of what you're doing. Like, it has to be valuable. So I think it's cool. And the weapon swap, I've noticed it, but it gets bugged out a little bit, and will all, like, suddenly not swap back, or my staff that I was using is now a two-hander. So that needs to be ironed out, but once they get the timing down just right, it'll be nice.
Excellent. Last up, I guess, really, other than dyes, I guess last up, but they did color correction, which is pretty sweet as well. that they just went through and updated all the post-processing effects in most of the zones. I definitely think they did a really good job. But they did tell us how to change it back if we really don't want it, so it's kind of neat. Armor dies. Difficult mode has been added as a new optional difficulty mode for final fight of the Etherean Archive and Hellroth Citadel. Now, Kipster will tell you this. I was really excited about this because me and him were talking about it a lot. Really excited about the difficult mode because I was really upset with the way Trials, and again, I haven't been in it, but like you said, your friend who's terrible at PvE is saying, yeah, it's easy mode, and from watching videos and stuff, that's what it looks like. It looks like easy mode. I was really at high hopes for the difficult mode of the end bosses. But again, I shall go unfulfilled here because apparently it's not that much more difficult. Have you heard anything about the difficulty mode?
Oh, I think it's a joke. Brandon, real quick, 2 shout-outs. 1, Kipster, thanks for giving me grain solvent really cheap. 2, Brandon gave me like 15 purple rings because he has so many of them. Thanks. Okay, so Brandon's a big dog, like one of the best PvEers in the world, and he comes in Mumble or TeamSpeak and tells us all like the top players are doing. They literally cleared Trials without wearing armor. They cleared it naked the other night. That's not even the hard mode. They one-shotted hard mode. I'll say it again. They one-shotted the very first time they ever played it when it was open. One-shotted it. So it needs some work. It's not a raid like a typical PvE raid. It's a burn check. It's a DPS check. That's what it is, and that's one mechanic that should be in every raid, but it shouldn't be. That's the only thing that goes on. And I haven't gone in them either, so I guess I'm the noob here too. But at the same time, I don't know. It's kind of disappointing. That's the top tier gear. Top tier stuff can be one-shotted. That's the best skill in the game probably, but they did it naked too? That's crazy.
Right. And I think Kipster's telling you no, they didn't. But
oh, okay.
even so.
Well, I could be wrong.
I was watching Kipster live stream it, and then he had to turn it off because they didn't want to give away their stuff. But just watching it, he was telling me they got it after a couple attempts, and I think his guild got a world first on it. But or at least that's what they posted. But even so, it was a matter of 3 or 4 attempts until they were able to beat it, and that just it disappoints me because those raids need to be more difficult than what they are. Because right now it's anyone essentially can. This reminds me of when Blizzard introduced the LFR rating. Pretty much anyone who puts on light armor and does a destruction staff, as long as you know how to stand on top of other people, can do these raids because they're not hard. So it's just very, very disappointing, especially from someone like me who likes the Dark Souls difficulty, the make you cry. Yeah, definitely disappointing. I'm really hoping that they, like they said, when they're releasing their new trials for like the Serpent and stuff like that, that they go ahead and, I guess, learn from their past mistakes and go, okay, these first ones were not really what we wanted them to be, or what our player base wanted them to be, and make some changes.
Well, make it a raid where you have to have unique builds in there. You don't have to have just, if it's just DPS stuff, everyone's going to do the exact best DPS. Make it so you have to have 3 tanks at one fight. That's what they were catering it or saying that it was going to be. Like, everyone's going to have to heal and everyone's going to have to tank, and that's what originally they were promising. That's not what the end result is, that you can stand in a circle, healing springs, and impulse to death. That's not a good raid. A good raid makes team unity matter, where it's more than just pressing the same 5 buttons over and over. You have to move, you have to coordinate. Leadership has to tell people where to be and why. Everyone has to react as a group and a unit. That's cool stuff. And that's what I feel like, to be honest, that the VR dungeons are. This way. The VR dungeons are hard as hell. If you don't stay out of the red, you don't call like when you need help or appeal and you need CC or whatever, you die. That's the most fun thing for me to do in the game currently. I want more of that. More 4-man content. Or woman. TS Fangirl.
Nice. And the chat has some pretty good points about saying how makes you question the skill level of the devs. How when the devs are doing it, that they said they haven't even beat certain trials or whatever. They're talking about 4-man. I'm under the point where they should like bring in the best guilds in the world, such as like Blood Legion, the official like sponsored teams that do this stuff, and have them come in and try to beat it. You need to get it up to a level of difficulty that's so tough it takes them a long time to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's not just numbers based either. Yeah, you can pump up the HP and pump up the damage they do and make it a numbers game, but that's not what makes a good raid or a good encounter. It's the mechanics that make it fun and hard. It's the mechanics where 3 people have to stand here, 4 have to stand here, this guy has to do this at exact the moment, this guy has to solve a puzzle, everyone's racing and it's terrible. That's what makes it fun, where every moment is like, oh my god, what's going to happen? So the mechanics is what makes the thing, and you'll memorize the mechanics. Everyone does after a while. That's why basically everyone can do these raids, but make it more about that than just doing damage and surviving. Then you'll have amazing content. Don't you agree? You're the PvEer.
Oh, I totally agree. And I'm an advocate of not so much mechanics that are, I guess, I liked phased encounters, but this is what I like. I like when you do phased encounters with a boss and you're given a hot bar. Okay, so the boss will have a hot bar, but there's no, he does this attack, and then 5 seconds later he does this attack. I think during phases, I'm an advocate of, all right, during phase 1, this boss has these 3 abilities. He will randomly pick and do one every 15 seconds. Good luck. And then when you push him to the next phase, okay, you know those 3 abilities that he randomly would use? Well, now he has 4 more that he will randomly use every, 15 seconds. Good luck. Every fight would be different. Because maybe he start, your team has a hard time, like they have to clump up together to absorb damage, and it's heck on healers, and they're like, whoo, we survived that, oh my goodness, how do we ever do that? And all of a sudden, oh crap, he's doing it again, that kind of stuff would be awesome. And I really think that would, arguably, I don't know if the world first people would argue about that, because technically the laws of averages could be on their side, and one person be like, we didn't get world first because this guy did the ability that we suck at a million times, and they got a cleave ability over and over and over again, so they just, they got lucky. I don't know how you would really want to mess with that, but I still think it would keep people on their toes, and every time after an ability was done, they'd be sitting there going, all right, well, he's either going to do one of these 3 things. What do we got to do? And all your people would have to be engaged and ready when that timer's up to go, 4 seconds, everyone get ready. We got to watch. What is he going to do? Oh, crap, he summoned ads. Everyone split and do your ad, what we practice for ads, whatever.
Yeah. But
that would be fun.
And, I'm always like, I guess it seems like I'm banging on the game or doing something like that, but I'm really not. Like, I play this game like a job. I mean, it's so much fun. I mean, just picking little things and crafting and sending people mails, or it's like they created a world you can live in. We just want to make it better. That's really all of our passion is for the game, because man, it's just, you can do so much different stuff. It doesn't feel like a normal MMO. It really feels now, it's getting close to the point where it's Elder Scrolls with friends. When they get a couple more things in here, a couple more good storytelling points, a couple more, things to do, then the market's starting to change. You're sitting out hawking your wares. That's old school MMO stuff that all of us miss. There is no global auction house where you can buy everything and just everyone undercuts each other. This is what an old school MMO combined with new age technology and stuff should be. It's not perfect. I just want to say, I'm not trying to bang in the game all the time, but I just want the game to be good. And what I like and what Ag likes might be 2 totally different things. I think there's room to get both in the game. I really do.
And one of the best things about MMOs is they need, because there's such a time investment, they need to cater to all types of gameplay.
Yep.
When you log in, like you said, you're living in a world. What do you do when you wake up? Well, let's not, since we're all adults, we have jobs and stuff like that. But when you wake up on a weekend, you wake up, go, okay, I have 18 hours till I go back to bed. I don't know if people think like this, but I do.
Oh,
I
yeah.
go, what can I
yeah.
do in these 18 hours?
It's going to be
My
Elder
wife hates me
Scrolls
for that.
9 of it.
Yeah, exactly. But you have a choice, and just as in real life, there's things I could play Elder Scrolls. I could go out and do yard work, which I often don't do. I have a choice about what I could do.
Yard work,
and that's
or nuke some imps. Nuke imps wins every time.
Exactly. Not saying that, like you're saying right here, I still had the choice. I chose the one thing. But MMOs definitely need to cater to everybody, because when you come in, that's how you make and have such a huge player base. That's how games like Warcraft, still, like, yes, they're losing lots of players now, but they still are probably the biggest MMO out there, even by losing half of their player base. Because over the years they've adopted different stuff of, we got the ratings. Well, now let's add arenas for the PvPers. Oh no, well, here's Battlegrounds. Well, they did that before that. Here's something casual for people to do. Hey, why don't we let the super casuals go back and do old content solo? There's stuff you can do in the game that that has a lot of stuff everyone can do. You have, when you log in, it's not, well, the only thing for me to do is PvP or
but enough that you can PvP if that's all you want to do. If you only want to do arenas, do it. But like TS Fangirl myself, we have I watch her tweets and stuff. We're totally different play styles, and she doesn't level as fast as me and takes it slow and reads all the stories just like you and the Twit Queen. But that's okay, because this game, you can do that and feel comfortable doing it. There's no rush.
Absolutely. When I log in, that's when I do my first playthrough, I read everything because I want to know everything about the world that I'm essentially living in. But later playthroughs, I change it up. But yeah, there's different stuff for us to do. So that was Update 3. But now that we kind of got done with our talking about Update 3 and what all was released, let's talk a little bit about what we think went wrong. I think we kind of highlighted a little bit with Update 3. But first off, as a little bit of other news, there is a die system fix incoming on Monday. That is going to be August 11th when the servers go down, because there was an error where people were getting colors for dies that they hadn't unlocked yet. That is going to be fixed. If you've already used those die colors, it won't change them off your armor, but you won't be able to put them back on different armor sets or whatever the case may be, or change them up until you unlock them. So that change is going to be there. So first off, die system, while it was released, wasn't released without errors. Did you find these to be hampering in any way?
My friends did, because they got really, really hard ones to get, basically getting all of the motifs on one character, but they didn't get credit for it. So they had the opposite effect, where they didn't get all the achievements they were supposed to. And I got exactly what I haven't even looked. I got the colors. I got black and yellow. Life's good. That's all I need. So all my characters except this guy are black and yellow and look amazing. So I'm happy. I have no complaints with the dies.
All right. Well, next up, there's been a lot of complaints about, I know it happened to us, the instant weapon swap. While it's awesome for me, there's been some issues where, because of the pre-caching, it looks like it gets messed up from time to time.
Yep.
And the item you're using isn't really the item that's displayed. I had this the other day where I run a two-handed greatsword and a restoration staff, and somehow or another I started holding the restoration staff like I'd hold a two-handed greatsword, and that's what I'd be swinging my two-handed greatsword abilities with the staff, and I would be healing with my sword. But to other people's screens, it looked like I was doing the right thing, so that's kind of interesting. And also, Delta, can you tell us a little bit about the bow animations? What exactly happened?
I don't know. It's completely screwed up. So I'll do a snipe, and then 10 seconds later, the damage will apply. And then all of a sudden, the thing dies. And then my weapon won't go back to the other one. It's really goofy. I don't know if it's just the snipe ability, if it's the bow, or whatever. And I can do it on the stream here in a minute. So, and then the weapon swapping, like you said, I'll go back to another weapon, then I'll get a bug where basically I'm holding block, even though I'm not blocking, and it's just the animation. So, it's a little glitchy. They'll get time to fix it, but nothing game-breaking at the moment. And every game has these, every big patch, so I'm not too concerned.
Was it only the bow that was causing these issues?
Yeah. Let me show these guys here real quick what it looks like. But yeah, I'll mark target this guy. I'll hit him with snipe. So here I am. In 30 seconds, you'll see it from now. So it hits. FTC shows that it registered damage, and then he still hasn't been damaged yet. And so like 30 seconds later, all of a sudden, boom, kill him. Yep, he just died. So you'll see on the stream, it looks really goofy. So I don't know if it's a snipe or a bow thing, but yeah, it's weird.
That's really, is it? I guess that's just really strange. Hopefully they'll get a fix to that pretty soon. Overall, I guess there hasn't been a lot of bugs that I've seen. So I guess the patch kind of went off without too much of an issue. I know after the last patch, update 2, there was a lot of frame rate issues. And this one,
it looks great.
I don't see that.
The graphics, I don't know, I think they did something, but man, this game, it looks beautiful. If you got it turned up on high and stuff, wow. Now, Cyrodiil still gets pretty glitchy, but just tooling around and stuff, I'm getting, over 60 frames. I'm getting 75 right now. It looks amazing. The armor, like now the colors, this color saturation, it's just beautiful game.
Absolutely. This was definitely probably one of the best patches that they've released with the fewest amount of bugs possible. I really think so. This one didn't have a whole lot. So definitely a great update, and I'm really glad it came out. Anything else you want to say about update 3?
No, I'm happy about it. They'll get the 2, 3 things straightened out. I don't know if it's intended to be selling the Trials gear. I hope that's not intended, because you shouldn't be able to get the best gear in the game with money in game. I really don't want gold spammers coming back to this game. So, other than that, I don't think anything's game breaking. But like we said, they need some meaty content now. It's time to get some new gameplay. Why is World of Warcraft still successful? There is a trillion things to do. If you want to do arenas till you're blue in the face, you can. You want to do objective-based PvP till you're blue in the face, you can. You want to do pet PvP, you can. That's how immersive it is.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks... Okay, let's be real. The graphics look ridiculous. But who cares? When you can do tons of different stuff and you've spent 9 years on one character, you're going to have a relationship with that game. So they're doing the same sorts of things, talking about once that Thieves Guild thing comes out, Dark Brotherhood, this game will blow up because everyone loves that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it'll be definitely really nice for when this game comes out. When those things come out, how they're slated to come out will be right around the time that the projected PS4 and Xbox release. So Xbox will get all of that.
Wow.
Right at the start. Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild. Because with their current release cadence and how they said the console releases probably weren't going to be ready until December or early January, we will be up to update 5, I think it is, by the 5 or 6 by the time that the content patch for Xbox and PS4 is out. So we'll definitely probably have the Justice System and Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild, which will be amazing.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was our thoughts on patch 1.3.3. That's update 3 for everyone and all of its update goodness. Now we're going to move on to my favorite part of the show, the Tales section. So first off, I'm going to talk about the guest tales a little bit. Every show I try to get into a habit of sending out little messages on Twitter to see what people in our community have been doing. And I got a few responses. Rode, our friend over at TSOcast, he pretty much said, work, kill, grind gold content into fine dust. So apparently he's working on the Cadwell's Gold quest line, the third, why am I drawing a blank on the word here? Third alliance going through. Our friend Kipster, yay Kipster, after the big update, I spent some time setting up the new sets, which are now 4-piece Aether and 4-piece Twilights, with the new gear sets and PvP bonuses, which I think are bugged because I have way more... I thought I put you on mute, phone. My phone is possessed. I have way more spell crit than I can count for, up to 74% spell crit. Then we ran some hard mode Theron Archive. It took us 3 attempts to figure out the strategy, which works. Completed hard mode a couple more times, then farmed the crap out of normal AA to get all new BOE gear to sell. That's sad. BOE trial gears, that's another rant. I'm sure you'll cover it in the new episode. Yeah, we did. I'm also leveling up my Nightblade, which is now VR4. I hate that the stuff is BOE. Absolutely. Yeah. I really hope it is a bug, like you said, Deltia, because that... I wouldn't mind if it went BOE when the next trial came out, when it wasn't the current gear.
Right.
But to have all... And he was telling me even the hard mode stuff, the best is now BOE. Oh, that was a bad change. Real bad change. Because I don't know who they're hoping to make happy here. Because it's like, well, you know, we want to make the gear available to everyone. We'll make them work for it. Or like, what happened to your promise that crafted gear will be on par with, you know, Trials gear? Or even, you know, anything of that nature. You should be able to have something to make it up to par. But, yeah, making it BOE just makes it so that another game that I play, Final Fantasy XIV, has this problem rampant, which is a big problem. Is the top free companies or guilds in that game farm out trials, which are essentially what they do here, which are one boss raid encounters, and they will charge people to bring them in to get them through the content because no one wants to try to get through it. And these guys are making hand over fist gold over this because people can't find enough coordinated people to get through trial content. And Final Fantasy XIV really is pretty difficult, and I'm happy. Some of it's hardware wise. I won't get into that. That'll be for a different discussion. But if you're not good enough to get through it, or find people who are good enough to get through it, these guys are just selling it like it's nothing. And I've actually talked to several of them, and they make a good point. They're like, the worst thing is with this, the people who buy this aren't people who are terrible. They actually could probably beat the trials by themselves.
They just don't know enough people.
They don't know enough people. So yeah, it becomes an economy of, well, now if I can farm enough gold, I can get the best gear rather than putting forth the effort and actually playing the game. It's a negative on the community as a whole. Absolute negative. Next up, our friend Obi. Oh my goodness, I'm just calling you Obi because I don't want to butcher your last name. Sorry about that. Little time I had to play in the game this week was searching for gear and weapons to share with guild members who need it. Our friend Brandon Pearson, that's Brandon who does all the high-end PvE stuff that you were talking about, did your shout-out, did a naked clear of AA first in world to beat hard mode Elra, made a stamina build that rocks, and killed a bunch of Nords. I approve of all of that except for the last line. You are dirty, dirty Bosmer. And our friend Ark over there, I started merching. Oh my goodness, I'm just tongue-tied. Started selling, so he's spending time wandering around, gathering mats to sell. It's just fun to wander around. So those were our Twitter and Facebook responses for this week. Deltia, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in ESO this week?
Oh, what haven't I been doing? I need to stop playing this game so damn much. No, you know, I ranted about the Templar, and I'm going to... Basically, doing these guides in this game, I haven't really found my niche end game. So right now I'm taking the time to level up, do all my crafting, and just wait till something comes along that I really want to spend all my time doing. And I like to learn the game in and outs to kind of see what classes are doing what builds, and why they're effective. So... just kind of been leveling my Nightblade. Went really hardcore, and I'm like, I'm getting this guy to VR1, and I'm making a video this weekend. So that's what I did. I stayed up late last night. So I don't know if you guys are like this or not, but I'll sit around at work, and I'll be doing something. I'll get a couple seconds to think, and I'll go, man, this build might be really awesome. If I swap out Snipe for Poison Arrow, I bet I could increase my damage by 30. I get home, what do? I try it. I go back the next day and I just think about builds all day. Does anyone else do that in the chat room? Anyone? I don't know, but so that's what I do.
I do.
Okay. I sit around. I play on ESO Head probably 15 hours a week.
Me too.
Before I go to bed, I'm like, okay. It's like my bedtime ritual now is to go on ESO Head and go, all right, what build am I going to run on my Nightblade? And just play around with it. So that's what I do, sit around and do that all day. And then basically I've been leveling up alchemy and provisioning and some of that stuff. I don't know if everyone knows this, but alchemy is the juggernaut of crafting. You can make unCCable potions. So uncrowd control, basically unstoppable ones, so you can't be CC'd in PvP. You can make invisibility potions, which I had no idea you could. Like, everyone can be invisible. Even a Dragonite can have stealth with potions. I didn't realize how powerful it was until I started doing it. Then I started making weapon crit, power, and stamina return pots. And oh my god, my DPS skyrocket. So really, I've been gathering tons of mats because I'm just having a ball with the crafting system and just really implementing on my characters and seeing the progression on it. It's a lot of fun. Got my provisioning to 50, I think, so I'm done with that. My friend found a purple VR5 recipe and learned it, so now I'm just feeding him mats so we can get all that stuff. But yeah, just playing my Nightblade. Finished the game. Now I'm going to go grind some stuff in Craghorn for anyone who wants to grind skill points and stuff like that. Because I don't really want to do the stories all over again. So, but that's about it. Nothing really crazy cool happened besides just nuking stuff over and over.
Right. Yeah, I do the same thing at work. I always have ESO Head on my window, and I'm constantly playing around with that character builder. That is the bane of productivity at work for me.
That's the bane of my job.
Sitting there configuring a SQL server. Okay, ESO Head. I like that ability. Now, yeah, no, that's what I do.
Do you have the one on your phone? There's an app on your phone. Okay, and it tells you all the morphs of all the abilities. So when so I'll sit there, like I'll go through the Templar. I'm like, what can the Templar do really unique? And I'll just look at all the morphs, and I'll forget, and I'll come back on my lunch and sit there for 10, 15 minutes, flipping through, and yeah, I love it.
That is awesome. I absolutely love it. And because I do computer work, it's not hard for me to have one window up of what I'm supposed to be doing,
right,
and ESO related news on the other. Sitting there playing. Okay. All right. So as because I said I was going to do this, and I missed TS Fangirl's tweets. She hasn't been able to adventure this week. Didn't have any exciting adventures this week because I haven't been able to play all week. Little sad face. But I'm finally made it to Windhelm. Currently soaking up NPC gossip around town instead of unraveling conspiracies.
I'm fresh. Check the doctor.
I was harassing her on last night when she hopped on because she kept tune hopping. I'm like, if you keep doing that, you'll never hit VR rank. So she was laughing at me because she's like, yeah, I know. And then she logged off and logged on another tune. She's like, yeah, see, now I'm making it worse. But yeah, as for myself, I haven't done a lot this week either. Not because I didn't have time to play. It's because Thais, of course, isn't here, and we always play together. Now, with that being said, tomorrow you guys will start seeing a Let's Play from me on our YouTube channel, because that's what I've been doing all week. So I've made a new Nightblade who is going to be my banker tune eventually. But I've been leveling her up and going through the Ebonheart Pack storyline. And that's why I was really questioning you all those abilities. Like, why do you not use that? Because I don't like it. But I generally am trying to make her, she's a Breton. Yes, she's a Breton Nightblade who I'm focusing on bow, but then going to be daggers. And I've been playing around with her a lot. And I really like the Assassin Blade morph that makes it a ranged attack, because that just adds to my my bow arsenal. But I've only really been using poison or venom arrow, the soul thing that I asked you that was good. I can't remember its ability name now, and I feel bad. And of course the lethal blade. And I've just been tearing through stuff with that. and all medium armor. And she is a blast. I actually love playing around with her. She's a lot of fun. I also maxed out my final woodworking is now finishing up on researches. So I have all 8 traits on everything woodworking related. So if anyone needs anything, just let me know. And I've been keeping up to date on all my researches on my blacksmithing and clothing. I'm now almost 7 of 8 on everything. So I'm getting there slowly but surely. I'm trying to think what else I've been doing throughout the week. I think that's about it that I can really say. So that was all I did this week. Hopefully when Thais gets back, we'll be able to really... Oh, you know what? I did forget something. Dear heaven above. We had a guild event, which Deltia was unable to interrupt. And we had a lot of fun. We had 5 or 6 of us come out, and we were just exploring Cyrodiil. And just going to all the different delves and Ayleid ruins and trying to collect all the sky shards and closing dolmens. And it was just a lot of fun. The one last dolmen we did, oh my goodness gracious, they just kept coming. Like, the first one wasn't real difficult. I think I died because a Aldmari Dominion Khajiit snuck up behind me and shot me while I was kind of hanging in the back and just like murdered me. But the second dolmen we did right at the end of the night was rough because it just started summoning all these different ads. There were probably 20 ads on the screen at a time. Going to wait for Thais to do spindle grind. Yes, Kip. There we go. So I've been running around doing that, and we just had a lot of fun in Cyrodiil, and we probably spent 2 hours out there and got like 10% of the stuff done. Like, it's a huge zone, and some of it you can't even do unless you've taken enough of the keeps to open the relic gates. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, that's what we've been doing this week, and it was really great. I can't wait to keep going. All right, we're going to move on to our next section, which is normally our dramatic reading, but without the Twit Queen here, we're going to skip over that because that's her section, and yeah, I'm not going to read it. Next up, for our community spotlight, there was a forum user by the name of Matt Uzis. Yeah, Matt Uzis. Yeah, there he is. I'm going to link it in the chat, and I'll also put this in the description on the podcast. It is a complete list of all the different set bonuses that are in the game with the release of Update 3, because a lot of the patches and set bonuses have changed on all of the different crafting bonuses and even some of the PvP bonuses and trial bonuses. So they actually went together on the PTS and created a whole little collage of pictures showing all the different sets and all the different changes to it. So if you're interested in looking at all these different sets, go ahead and check it out and see what you want to build. So there you go. All right, next up is our emails, our iTunes and emails. Let's see here. We didn't have any iTunes reviews this week, but we did have 2 emails. One from our friend Estelden. Another great episode, guys. Have to admit, this one is especially fun, as I actually disagree with a few of Deltia's opinions. Which is a refreshing change, as I usually find myself in agreement with him. I must say that I am on Thais' side. We'll see, Estelden, that's a mistake. When it comes to the PvP, PvE integration. As far as I'm concerned, they should overlap. If you want to be the best, then you should do everything. I think some balance needs to be made though, as no skill should be clearly superior to everything else. I think we all agree on that one. But a slight edge makes people feel rewarded for their effort. Rift eventually completely separated the PvE and PvP, and that actually killed the PvP for me because there was no longer a point to do it. I know the fun is its own point, but I am an MMO. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. I was trying to read this and the sentence structure is not there. But I am an MMO player Gaining power is part of the fun. I had to add player. There was no player in there. I also have to say, I think Deltia has spent too long cruising on his OPDK that has skewed his views on mere mortals like the Templar. Deltia, do you agree with that? I do.
I agree.
Because Templars are awesome. You know, it's sad as it is, but when you play an OP class, when you go play something that's not as OP, you feel it. You really do. The Templar has issues endgame, particularly in the single target sustained DPS, but for leveling, it has plenty of power, especially for AoE damage. He is underestimating the Templar skills, as you can easily build an effective powerhouse with barely any weapon skills. Enough that the Crusader could probably give his Butcher a run for his money. Ooh. Carve, Blazing Spear, Explosive Charge can use Crit Rush as an alternative. Solar Barrage, Puncturing Strikes, Blazing Shield, Breath of Life, Flawless Dawnbreaker. You know, those are some of the abilities you can actually use. Keep in mind, Explosive Charges uses melee crit and gains 10% crit from the passive. Stuns casters and can proc 150 damage passive. I actually do use that now. The above is a bit overkill, but I actually probably use Executioner as a force skill. RF PvPing, he uses Blinding Flashes. Of course, having said that, Barrage can boost the next Carve. I will say Dawn's Wrath Tree definitely needs adjusting, though. I guess this is where a single target damage should come from, but it feels lacking. Anyway, enough of a counter rant. Keep up the good work. Look forward to next show and any other blogs you may do. Regards, Stilton. So, Templars are awesome. Deltia, did you hear that?
Well, he makes some great points, yeah. And I don't know the class well enough. I mean, so it was just I'm just raging like a teenage girl. So yeah, I do that from time to time. So I'll shut up. But
let me put. I'm gonna stand with Deltia on this one. A lot of the class abilities from the Templar are very OP. I will say it right now, they're OP. The problem is with the Templar is they're not sustainable to use. They do a lot, like Puncturing Strikes, for instance, does a crap ton of damage. But it costs so much magicka. You could go all 49 points in magicka, be stacked in magicka, and which wouldn't really help you with the weapon crit because it bases off your weapon crit, so you really need to be melee weapon crit. You could only do it for 3 or 4 times, and then you're out of magicka. And we don't have an effective way of regaining magicka through passive means, other than through equilibrium or whatnot. And I can argue that's either here or there. But yeah, all of our abilities are very good, but they cost so much to use, and they kind of double dip a little bit. Like almost everything in the Adric Spear tree bases its damage off of melee skills, which require you to have stamina, but it uses magicka, so if you're stacking magicka, your stamina is kind of nerfed a little bit to begin with, so it's not getting its full bonus. If you're going a full melee build, you don't have enough magicka to sustain using it more than 2 or 3 times at most, and then you're out of magicka for emergency heals or utility or anything like that. So,
well, now
Delta, go ahead.
He does bring up a good point that this would give the Butcher a run for his money. So I kind of want to interject here. Ag and I were talking pre-show. I don't know if I should tell him now, but we want to do a guild event, dueling event, where a lot of us play on different sides, different factions. Why don't we go duel each other in Cyrodiil and have like rewards? Like, I'm willing to farm motifs and put up an Ancient Elf Daedric and do a tournament. And do Tales of Tamriel dueling event in Cyrodiil. And so then you can actually beat up on me and see if I'm really a good player or not. And that way, it would be awesome to do it with you guys. That way we could all play with or against each other on a certain day or night. And just do an event and have fun out in Tamriel and Cyrodiil. That's the one place we can all gather. I don't know if you guys would be up for that, but I think it would be a blast.
Yeah, that's definitely something we are going to do, and I'm glad you actually mentioned it. We're going to farm up some rewards, and we'll come up with a little a little structure. And what I really want to do is I kind of want to do almost like a sign-up sheet or something like that, so we can find out who's gonna be there, so we can have enough rewards. But we're gonna work that out, and we'll let you guys know when we're actually gonna do that, because I think that would be a lot of fun. Next up, we have one more email here from our friend Michael. Good day to you guys. Hopefully this letter finds you well. I figure that since the new patch hit, I should send you an email with a slight update and a question. First of all, I appreciate how you guys take the time to read emails that people send you. The first one I sent a while ago was a little confusing, but you still discussed it, which is a lot more than I can say for the 3 other podcasts I sent it to. I'm sure they were busy or didn't want to talk about the topic I brought up or just thought I was being narcissistic. But until I get this document done, your podcast show shall now be the only one I send emails into. Well, thank you. I'm glad we actually get to have this email section. I love interacting with the community, so I always make an attempt to do this because it's a lot of fun. Okay. My reading skills, however, are not the best. This is why Thais normally does this. I get tongue-tied. And on the topic of uber secret document I'm writing, it's going very well. I'm 31 pages and a little under 9,000 words into it, and only about 1/4 the way done. It's the reason I haven't really gotten to play any ESO at all, but I still intend for this to get me a career in game design. It's worth it. For those who may not remember, Michael actually does have a website, and I wish I would have looked it up. But he's interested in level design and stuff of that nature, so he's working on a type of document that he wants to send to Bethesda as kind of like a resume, so everyone wish him luck.
Cool.
Yeah, I've looked at his site. He actually has some pretty neat stuff, and I'm really kicking myself for not pulling it up, but I looked at it the other day, and he has some pretty neat stuff. He did a whole bunch of different Skyrim mods and Skyrim levels that were fairly complex when you looked at like the overview maps and everything, so definitely everyone wish him luck on that. So I hope it comes out well for him. Then maybe we'll have an end and we can get a tour of Zos. Anyway, on to the main reason for writing this to you. With the new patch, I decided to log into the game for a couple of hours to play with armor dyes and respec my level 42 Daggerfall Covenant Nightblade. I started her as a healer, and now I'm playing around with a tank spec, and I've got to say, so far, I don't see why everyone is saying the Nightblade is horribly underpowered. Deltia, this is a perfect time to read this email. It's my favorite class thus far, with Templar as a close second, and I haven't found either of them to be underpowered at all. Unfortunately, since I'm in the Covenant with this character, I'll not be able to help you two with dungeons or anything. That is something that has bothered me since the beginning of the game. I don't mind the decision to allow any race to play in any alliance. I can see that worked fairly well lore-wise, and I don't think it hurts the competitive aspect too much, but for the life of me, I can't figure out why they allow any faction to be in the same guild. I'm pretty sure they did this so the population imbalance wouldn't make it seem like such a huge imbalance in guild stores. And so there's a better chance for most guilds feel nice, large, and active. As nice as those reasons are, I feel it makes no sense whatsoever in the lore and just makes the world feel a lot less warlike, especially when I ask in guild for help on like a dungeon and I get 10 responses saying, what faction? And, oh, I'm sorry, I can't help you, I'm Ebonheart Pact. I know that a guild can choose to only allow members of the same faction, but that rarely happens. What are your thoughts on the subject? Do you find it to be a hindrance? What would you have done? Would you have done it a different way? Do you think they will keep it like this? Or was there just a way to make the world feel larger after an inevitable 1 month sub dropped off? And will it change in the future? Either way, sorry for the long email. Great job on all the podcast. Hopefully I'll see you in the game on rare occasions I get to play. Sincerely, Michael. First off, Nightblade ROP. Like, seriously. Like, a lot of the people who I think complain about Nightblades are because they can't take hits when not in, like, a tank spec. Like,
or they don't know how to play defensively.
I think that's what a lot of it is. People are like, well, I can run in here with 10 mobs on my Nightblade or on my Sorcerer, or not my Nightblade, my Templar or my Dragon Knight or Sorcerer or whatever, and they don't die. But I think the Nightblade really was meant for the people who like the stealth, you know, pick them off from a distance kind of stuff. They weren't meant to take a hit.
Yeah.
Unless you're speccing them to be tank. Deltia, do you agree? Or do you have any input?
Yeah, it's a rogue. I mean, that's your whole thing is that, yeah, my DK can survive against 20 enemies, but it can't hit for 2,500 either. You know, there's strengths and weaknesses to everything. If you're getting hit, stealth, sprint out of there. Your health and regeneration of defensives comes from your killing blows that regenerate health. That's how you play defensively, by killing stuff. That's why in my guide, my write-up, I said it's like playing an electric chainsaw on fire. If you aren't getting killing blows and killing stuff, you're not getting health coming back. So solo, it can be tricky. But once you get the playstyle down, like you watching me do this, I'm just nuking stuff at VR1. And I haven't died yet. So, I don't know. It just comes down to playstyle. I mean, me hating Templars, I got a buddy who hates Dragon Knights. He says this class is terrible. Well, he hasn't got green blood yet, so once he gets that, everything changes. So it might be one or two things people are missing. But the class is ridiculous. When you can one-shot something, how is it underpowered?
I agree. It's definitely not. I just think people weren't expecting what they designed it to be. Even though it was designed to be a rogue, they were expecting to be able to stand toe-to-toe with all the other classes who are not designed that way. Before we step into the next question, quick interjection. Ark says, how does a guy run faster than my horse while sprinting?
I'll show you. Basically, there's a few different things. Number one, there's a Night Silence bonus. Night Silence increases speed sneak by 60%. I also have a weapon here, concealed weapon, that gives me 25% stealth movement speed. On top of that, I have a vampire passive that increases movement speed while sneaking and allows player to enter a stealth. So yeah, I don't have any, that's why I can sneak as fast as you can run on your horse. But,
right.
But then again, Nightblades are underpowered.
Definitely underpowered. That's why some of the world first guilds were stacking 3 or 4 Nightblades in their trials.
Right.
Because they're underpowered. Because that's the first thing I noticed. It was during the time when everyone was first complaining about
hating. Yep, and you're like,
Nightblades are terrible, and the world first guild, you look at them, out of 12 players, there's like 5 Nightblades. I'm like,
and here, you know why? You know why? Because Nightblades hit the hardest. Let me show you one thing real quick. On the stream, I know for those listening, you can't see this, but the passive here, which one is it? An assassination. Increased bonus critical strike damage by 5%. That's why they hit the hardest. You get 2 of those. So your crits hit 10% harder than any other class. Then you throw on some Mundus Stone that increases it 2, some Divine Straits. That's why you're hitting the hardest. Thus, why they do some of the best damage in the game.
Absolutely. They are just they are really powerful when played correctly. All right, for his last question, what are our thoughts on the multi-guilding? I'm going to say this right off the bat. He asked us, will they keep it this way? Yeah, they've already released it. Too many people would complain if they took it away. That's the thing about human nature. People like to get stuff. No one likes it to be taken away. They may change a little thing, but I doubt they would ever say, no, we're going to change it now because of how many guilds are established. They're in for a penny, in for a pound at this point with the decision they made. There is no going back, or else there'd be a huge uproar. As for my personal thoughts, when I first heard it, I go both ways. One, it's nice that if you have friends who are playing alts and stuff, or you have, like our friends and family guild for the podcast, we don't do scheduled events very often, or when we do, it's always Ebonheart Pack. We always made that point. But the idea of our guild wasn't to actually do stuff with each other, as bad as that sounds. It was a friends and family guild that you could join. You could chat with us, with the host. We get to help each other if you're on the same faction. But there was no expectations for when you went into the guild. Other guilds, however, that have a certain expectation to them, it is kind of weird when you join a guild that, you're asking for help for, hey, I need help, and people can't because of dungeons. It's kind of weird. I think the only thing that they would do is they would finally separate out the PvE and the PvP in this game, that if you are PvP zoned or PvEs, if you're going to do a PvE dungeon such as like a VR Crypt of Hearts, anyone in any faction can join you as long as they port into the dungeon. The dungeon should be a neutral zone that you can mix and match. That's the only thing that I hope they change. Deltia, what are your feelings on that?
On basically, let me get this straight, on having guilds that are multi-faction? Is that
Yeah, like why would they allow us to have multi-faction guild but not do anything with people who are in, other factions?
That is strange. Yeah, I'm kind of with him on this one. I really don't like that. But then again, I say that, but yet it's kind of fun being in the Tales of Tamriel guild so I can see what everyone's talking about. So there's strengths and weaknesses to it. I don't know. It's something that I really haven't found an opinion that makes sense to me why they did it. It just seems strange, and when all you can really do is talk. But I guess if you wanted to do a super powerful merchant guild, it would be the best, because what my friends do is they get motifs and then they go sell them on Ebonheart Pack because it's the least populated, and they make double the money. So that could be something, but other than that, I don't know.
Right. It is weird, but I'm still fond of, like, because it would be too much of a structure change to change the way the world outlay is. If you're Ebonheart Pact, I'm not going to be able to go to, I don't know, First Hold and see level 10 players in there. It's just not going to happen. But I'm still an advocate of them changing the way the dungeons are, that if you go to do a trial or you go to do a VR dungeon, that people of other factions can group up together and port into those dungeons. I would like to see that change. Then at least you'd be able to get help if you're doing dungeons from no matter who you're at, because it's technically a different instance. I don't know. It definitely was a weird thing to do, but this was during a time where there was a lot of back and forth. At first, you picked a faction, you weren't allowed to see any of the other factions. At that point in time, you also weren't allowed to go to any other factions. Like, that was the point. And when the game was first out, and then a lot of people complained, going, well, wait a minute, I want to be able to go to any faction I want to go to. Because originally the game was developed that you played through your faction, and that was it. Then you'd have your faction pride. If you want to play through another faction, you had to make an alt. Then they made the choice of, no, now we're going to allow you to go to other factions. And in doing so, we're going to open up the guilds to allow anyone of any faction to be in it, so you can chat with your friends. I think that was the point, so you could chat with your friends. And like the Tales of Tamriel Guild and Deltia said, we're essentially a giant chat room that does stuff from time to time together. But certain other guilds that actually have a purpose to them, it's more of a hindrance than a help, really. It really is. So that's my thoughts. So okay. Now it's the time of the show for our final thoughts. So Deltia, why don't you give us your final thoughts and let everyone know where they can find you and all that fun stuff.
Okay, well, I'm going to do that first, so I usually screw that up. It's at Deltia's Gaming, or in-game at Deltia, Deltia, Deltias.com. That has my guides and YouTube videos, and feel free to write discussions and say, like I said, there is no perfect build, and you guys, like Kipster, Brandon, a lot of these guys have told me tips that help me in my build. So if you got one, share it, and let's talk about it, because it's nothing fun than just sitting around on ESO Head with a bunch of guys, gals too, talking about builds and what's fun. So yeah, final thoughts. I like the patch. It was a quality of life, not a whole lot of meaty content. I don't really know what's on the horizon. After QuakeCon, they talked about a lot of good things. I really think I give them 2 months. If 2 months they release a big, huge, like, Thieves Guild thing, I will be very, very, very happy. But they need something in that time frame to keep the player base going instead of leveling alts. By that time, I really want something to sink my teeth into PvE, PvP-wise. Until then, I'm just going to learn the game and keep on playing. Bugs are getting better, slowly and surely. Developers, I seem to be really interacting a lot. So I really like that. They're going to events, they're reaching out, so they're not just giving up, and the game's not going free to play like everyone wants it to. A la IGN, fail. Yeah, happy with the game. I'm telling you what, I know I always rant and rave about this, but the community is awesome. I mean, Brandon sent me like raid level endgame rings for free. He's like, yeah, just for what you do for the community. I mean, Kipster, all sorts of stuff. I've never been a part of a community that is more fun and enjoyable, and they don't sit around and bash the game. Yeah, you got meatballs that still do that, but I have a Facebook group of people that play other games, and all they do is sit in the Facebook group and talk trash about the game they're playing. Why are you talking trash about a game you're spending 500 hours playing? People aren't doing that here. They're having fun. They're doing crafting. They're dinking around, picking up flowers. You want to pick up flowers for 20 hours in this game, you can. It's not all about PvP meathead stuff, which is refreshing to me. So I'm just having a blast, and for those that say Nightblade are underpowered, I hope you've been watching this, because they're not. Underpowered, excuse me. So yeah, keep up the good work, Elder Scrolls, and please, please, put one of my builds, guides, something on the page. I would love you long time.
Nice. Yep, and I want to thank my co-host for joining me this evening, and I also want to thank the chat room so much for coming out, because we have a fairly active chat room of a bunch of different users who come back every week, and it's great to have you guys out there. It's making a lot of fun. And gals, guys and gals. Sorry. Just I gotta use neutral words, neutral pronouns.
Your people.
I get in the habit.
Have you people come out?
All these people out here. I do want to thank everyone for listening to the podcast. As for this episode, Update 3, a great quality of life patch. Absolutely amazing. A lot of fun stuff that was added. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing a lot more updates. Like the next update, I think if they do an update cadence, like they do a beefy patch of content to do and then a quality of life patch, that would be awesome, because that's a nice balance between the two. And I think it'll be a 4 to 6 weeks update is doing really good. And actually, come to speak of it, because this patch just went live, in the next week or two, we should actually start seeing what's going to be on the PTS next. So, yeah, it's really exciting.
One thing else, for all the game haters out there, I know you're probably not listening to this or in the chat room or anything. All the people that hate on this game and said that Elder Scrolls, there's no way they're going to be able to release content in 4 to 6 weeks. All I can say is, ha ha.
Oh, I agree. And it's meaty content, too, because I know another game that did that, Guild Wars 2, is like, oh, we're going to release a content patch every 2 weeks or something like that. Well, they did, but it wasn't what they were promising. They're like, yeah, it'll be meaty content, and here it's one quest line you could finish in a day, if that. But these guys have been keeping their update promises, and they have been doing, all these patches are fairly substantial. Like the systems that are being released, like the dye system, that, I know none of us are artists here or any of that now. Well, I don't know, the chat room maybe. But you know how much rendering work you had to do in order to get all the different dyes and having to render for each and every armor piece? That's a lot of rendering work. A lot. So they've really done a good job with this game, and I absolutely adore it. And I love doing the podcast. I love all of our fans and listeners, and it's great. So I do want to thank everyone for listening. If you wish to help support the podcast, feel free to donate via the PayPal link on the website. If you have any questions, comments, criticisms, and actually I'm also going to throw in here, if you have any discussion topics that you would like us to discuss, feel free to send them in, because I could use some more ideas. I want to know what the community wants us to discuss, because I'm picking things to talk about each week. And I would like to know if there's anything that is like burning on your minds that you would like to hear. If you want to email that to us, you can do so on our website for the show, which is talesoftamriel.com, or you can email the show at podcast@talesoftamriel.com. You can follow the show on Twitter at Tales of Tamriel, on Facebook at facebook.com/Tales of Tamriel podcast. Also, feel free to rate and subscribe to us via iTunes and also on YouTube at youtube.com/Tales of Tamriel. That helps us out a lot. I have been trying to utilize our YouTube a lot more. All of our episodes get put out there, so if you want to rewatch a stream or you don't have a device to listen to the iTunes or anything of that nature, you can go watch it on YouTube. So you should go do that. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Tales of Tamriel. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye.